Time is valuable. Thanks for spending your morning with us. The Elias Makos Show on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
All right, welcome to the second hour of the Elias Makos Show. We're going to be talking about career changes. No, not for me, but there are a lot of career changes happening over the last 24 hours. James Foster touched on some of them during his newscast and those big senator appointments. I'll dive into that in just a moment here. But I want to start off this second hour of the Elias Makos Show by talking about babies. And the reason I want to talk about babies is because, as many of you know, you've probably heard me by now mention that we've got baby number 2 coming. And when I say coming, like the due date, we are 9 days away from the due date. The baby has not shown up. And a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we really thought this baby was coming early. Olivia, she was telling me over and over, she's like, there's so many contractions. This baby's coming. And it didn't happen. Now we're in like sort of standby position. We're in a holding pattern here, but we are prepared, right? If I get a phone call, let's say in 10 minutes from now, Olivia calls me, because I've told her to call me, not text. You can call me at any time, I've told her. So if she calls me, she says, honey, we've got to go to the hospital. We're ready to go. We've got like our emergency program ready to go. We're going to press play. You're going to hear some best of programming. And then we'll have our good colleagues here. Trudy Mason will be replacing me for the vast majority of my parental leave. So with that on the brain, that a baby for me is coming, I am wondering about your baby stories. Yeah, this will be a thread throughout the week, and I hope to spend a moment where I get to open up the phone lines at one point, where I'm going to ask our listeners about those experiences, their stories about welcoming their children into the world as my family prepares to welcome baby number 2 in the world. Now, my firstborn, Wolfgang, he is super excited. Now, I know people have told me, you just wait. Once that baby does arrive, things may change. He may want to hug the baby right now, and he caresses Olivia's belly, and he's excited for his brother. But then when the attention gets divided, perhaps he won't be so happy. So we'll see how that plays out. But if you know, you can send me a text message here, 514-790-0800, maybe a thread that I can use for the rest of the week. Send me some notes about what you remember from the birth of your children as my family prepares to go through that experience for a second time. Okay, career changes. Before we get to the politicians, let's get to people we admire first. Jeremy Hansen. Yeah, the astronaut we all know and love from the Artemis 2 mission. And I've said it before, there was something about this crew, okay? 3 Americans, 1 Canadian, Jeremy Hansen, the Canadian on the mission. That whole crew, Christina Koch and Victor Glover, and now I'm drawing a blank on the last one. But the whole crew, okay, every time they open their mouths in press conferences or from space, Reed Wiseman is the last one. Every time this crew would open their mouths, unlike with most people, and you're listening to one right now, the more I talk, you're like, shut up, Elias. But you know that most people, the more you hear them talk, the less you want to hear from them. I guess maybe that's one thing that makes you a good radio broadcaster. For some reason, you want to keep listening. But most people, you're like, okay, it's enough of you. And these astronauts, every time they would talk, you're like, can you keep talking? I like you. Every time you say a sentence, I like you even more. That was the case for Jeremy Hansen. It's very clear that through the mission to the moon, circling around the moon and back, and landing back on planet Earth, this is a guy that very quickly has found himself a tremendous fan club in this country. And you could argue that Jeremy Hansen has done more to unite Canadians over the last 10, 15 years than governments have. Anyway, we have big news about Jeremy Hansen because he's leaving the Canadian Space Agency. And there will be some other opportunity, new professional opportunities, as he puts it, as of September. So he'll take some time off for the summer, and then we will hear what's next for Jeremy Hansen. Now, he's not becoming a senator, thank goodness. Man, what a waste would it be for someone like Jeremy Hansen to end up relegated in the Senate. I'm just saying. But Jeremy Hansen is going to move on to other things. Now, I've heard more than one person say, hey, maybe he can run in the next election as an MP. We shall see on that front. I hope he keeps that space program experience in whatever he does next. I hope it's something to do with engineering and space and that kind of stuff. I'd love to see that. Maybe a media guy. Maybe he could become a media expert on space. That would be a nice career because he's so well-spoken. So Jeremy Hansen leaving the CSA after what a crowning achievement, heading on the Artemis 2 mission to the moon. Now to politics. And this morning, we've got, one blockbuster, at least, Conservative MP Richard Martel, as James Foster told you, resigning from Conservative caucus and being appointed to the Senate by Mark Carney. So the Conservatives now down another MP. This now means there will be yet another by-election in this country. And I got to say, I mean, this is the very interesting thing when it comes to Richard Martel, because he's a Quebec MP. If you look at the province, and by the way, Mark Carney's doing incredible polling across the entire country, but there's something special happening in Quebec. Like there's been Quebec polling for federal politics where the Liberals are at 50%. If there was a time to turn a conservative blue seat in Quebec into a liberal red seat, it's now. Under the fear of Donald Trump, Mark Carney may do it. So there's going to be more by-elections coming. They're up to 7. We had 6 by-elections that had to happen over the next few months. Now we're going to be up to 7. We're getting dangerously close to, let's just call a full general election. Like, how many by-elections have to be out there before you say it's a waste to do 7 individual by-elections? Let's just call a big old election. So we'll see what happens there. So I'm taking note of that. And if you're someone that believes that Mark Carney, he's a consensus builder, and boy, has he ever been able to bring some people from the blue side onto the red side, here's an example of that, of course, going into the Senate. But here's the other one I want to talk about. Tom Pitfield. Now, you may know Tom Pitfield. Because Tom Pitfield, former Justin Trudeau groomsman. Like, you look at that, you know how many, it's funny when you look at the photo from Justin Trudeau's wedding and you see so many Liberal cabinet ministers. Like, a great way to have become a cabinet minister when Justin Trudeau was prime minister was be one of the people at his wedding. Well, Tom Pitfield, big buddy of a former prime minister, Justin Trudeau, now principal secretary, still in politics. It was a big figure behind the scenes in the Liberals' data programs, like their voter data programs. And, need to point out, husband of Anna Gainey. So for those of you in the NDG riding, the husband of Anna Gainey, Tom Pitfield, is headed to the Senate. And a bit of a Nepo baby, Tom Pitfield's dad, Michael Pitfield, was also in the Canadian Senate. So, I don't know how you feel about that kind of thing. Like, it certainly seems this is someone who was born on third base, getting a lot of opportunity here. But Tom Pitfield joining the Senate, there's a plum gig after years behind the scenes in Liberal politics. He's also headed to the Senate. So those are 2 big announcements coming this morning and big career changes. When we return on the Elias Makos Show, we're going to switch gears and talk about class action lawsuits. One against Google, another that'll be of great interest for those of you in the West Island who were flooded 2-3 weeks ago. So stay tuned for that. Let's do
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd,
and more. All your decade-defining favorites all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away. Time is valuable. Thanks for spending your morning with us. The Elias Makos Show on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
All right, just a couple of notes from listeners about the birth of their children. Listen to this one from Joyce. Joyce writes this: during the time of telephone booths, I was at the OBGYN waiting room with mild labor pains. I called my child at home from one of these booths when suddenly there was a gush of water all over the floor. I said goodbye. I ran down the hall, quickly placed on a bed, at which time the baby's head popped out, and there she was. I wish my first birth was like that. Thank you, Joyce, for that story. And James writes me this. James is in Laval, and he says, good morning, Elias. As a father of 6, I have many stories. Here is one my wife keeps reminding me about. You'll appreciate it as a baseball pitcher. It was child number 5, Danica. My wife's sister was in town for the birth of that child. We went to the hospital together with my wife. The doctors told us it's going to be many hours, probably the next day. So I left her in the hands of my sister, and I went to play ball and came back. She didn't deliver until 8 hours later. As it was her first and my 5th, she still never lets me live it down that I left the delivery to play baseball and came back. P.S. It's our 19th wedding anniversary today. Great story, James, and happy anniversary to you and your wife. All right, let's get to our next topic, and let's talk about some class action lawsuits. Now, if you've ever had a situation where you were talking about potentially buying something, and then hours, even minutes later, you see an ad pop up on your phone about that very product, well, if you've ever been in that situation, have we got a class action lawsuit for you? Montreal man now seeking to launch a class action lawsuit against Google, alleging the tech giant violated users' privacy, by collecting and using personal information without proper consent. Jeff Orenstein is on the line, founder of Consumer Law Group. Jeff, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about this specific case. Is this, because I know most people have a story where they think they're talking about something, then they get an ad for it. Does this apply to everyone?
So that's exactly the story our client has. He was having a conversation about going on vacation. He has a Google-enabled device at his house. And, he started getting advertisements for hotels and things like that. So that's exactly the story with our client. But this comes on the heels of a U.S. case that class action that settled just recently for $68 million. And in it, although it's not an admission of liability, but certainly Google found it needed to settle the case. And what it had to do with really was all of the Google-enabled devices that have Google Assistant. Talking about Google Home, Google Pixel, Google Nest Hub, and as well, if you have Google Assistant applications, so if you have non-Google made devices, but things like that have Samsung, Motorola, where they have the Android application on it. So the issue here is that normally when you're supposed to activate, you say it's designed to have keywords like "Hey Google" or "Okay Google," and that's when it would start activating and start listening and start answering your questions. And what we've alleged in this case is that even when you don't say that, they have false positives where, according to Google's explanations on their help page, it could happen where it thinks that you said those words, or it's too sensitive, or anything like that, and so it would start activating even when you don't say the key words. But of course, we also allege in our proceeding that even that, which we believe is negligence and negligent design, but even that, they're also transmitting it to third parties like advertisers in order to earn money off that as well. So that's basically what this case is about, and we filed it in Quebec for Quebec residents. We also filed it in Ontario for everyone else in Canada.
Now, going forward, could Google, quote-unquote, fix this by adding a few more sentences, paragraphs to, the terms and conditions to make sure everyone's aware of this before they click yes and accept the terms and conditions? If in the future, could they get out of this, irregardless of the stuff in the past that they may be on the hook for?
So the answer is maybe. The terms and conditions do say certain things. They do tell you, for example, it can be activated by mistake. It does say that, which we allege is an admission that they know about the problem. They do talk about how under certain situations it could be sent to third parties, but the clarity is certainly not there. Listen, clarifying things would be good. In addition, they do talk about how they're still working on the sensitivity of the device. So obviously they haven't fixed it up until now. At least that's what we allege in the proceeding. So, there are certain admissions made there, and there's certain things that they could disclose, but we certainly don't think there's sufficiency at this moment.
What kind of damages are you seeking?
Well, for Quebec, we have punitive damages is probably the main one under the Quebec Charter for violation of privacy rights. In the rest of the country, there's a tort called intrusion upon seclusion, which also entitles you to damages similar to that as well. Also, again, outside of Quebec, you can have disgorgement of profits. So all the profits they made with those third parties, you could obtain that outside of Quebec. In Quebec, the main one is the violation of your privacy rights, which Quebec can give you punitive damages. So even though there's different legal principles, you can still end up with similar compensation.
And let me ask you, do you need to do anything, or just any Google user, anyone who has one of those devices, any user in Quebec automatically would be entered into this class action if it goes through?
So the answer is you're right. You're right. Anyone who has, it could be either a Google device or it could be an Android device where
yes,
it's Google enabled. It has the same Google Assistant. Yes, normally you're...
Oh, Jeff, are you there? Have we lost Jeff? Jeff, we dropped the call. We'll try and get Jeff Orenstein back on that front. We do want to ask him about another lawsuit that he's behind. Aside from the Google front, I do want to ask him about the flooding in the West Island, DDO and Roxborough, Pierrefonds Roxborough to be specific. We know we got hit with so much rain, and there's a bit of back and forth here. I've heard city officials say, listen, doesn't matter how much planning you do. There's no city that can actually take on 150 millimeters of rain in an hour, and there's not going to be flooding. Others allege that, hey, the city should have better planning and better resources and better infrastructure to deal with that. So what do you think? Are we going to get Jeff back here? Probably not, eh? Running out of time on that one. So we're trying to get Jeff Orenstein. Maybe we can book him again on that. I'd love to know from you, by the way. And there's actually a protest happening later today. Residents of DDO, we're going to actually do this story at 10:50. So in just about 20 minutes time, we are going to be speaking to residents of DDO that are having a protest outside of DDO City Hall. They're calling it the No More Floods protest, and they want stronger flood mitigation. So if you're one of those people that was affected by flooding a few weeks ago, protest happening today. We'll get those full details just about 10:50 on the program, so in 20 minutes' time. Now, next on the Elias Makos Show, it's a daily favorite around here. It's our daily In Transit segment where we talk about things related to getting around town. Sometimes it's cars, sometimes it's trains, sometimes it's bikes. And the city of Montreal, they say they're all about consultation. So they're doing a survey right now about bike lanes in the city. But there's a problem. Some cyclists are saying that this survey is tilted to get the results that the city wants. It's not a fair and honest survey, particularly after changes the city made after the survey had launched. So it was online, it was taken off, and then brought back with changes. So when we return, we're going to speak to a cyclist who first noticed these changes in the survey, and we'll ask the question if the city is trying to get the results they want when it comes to bike lanes. That's next.
Hello, Canada.
This is Bryan Adams Radio. Hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
We'll play a few of mine, a ton of my favorites, and some must-hear behind-the-scenes stories from the world of rock and roll. One thing about doing rock and roll so long is you end up meeting a lot of the people that you admire. Sometimes you even get to work with them. It's only love, and that's all.
Bryan Adams Radio. I'm coming back to you. Now available on the free iHeartRadio app.
Hey everybody, how are you tonight? Sounds great.
The Elias Makos Show, on demand.
On demand. Don't miss a thing.
Find your favorite clips at CJAD800.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
All right, when we return, In Transit today takes a look at a survey that the city is doing, an online survey that the city is doing about bike lanes. Some cyclists say, hey, they launched this survey, then it was removed very quickly and brought back later with some major changes. What's going on? Is the city trying to get the survey results it wants in this dossier? We'll take a closer look next.
When news breaks,
heavy rain and thunderstorms are causing flooding in various areas
close to home.
The streets were full of water, abandoned vehicles.
count on us.
Did you suffer any damage at all? Water damage, water infiltration?
Information you can trust when you need it.
Request is pumps.
The voice of the community. The voice of Montreal. News Talk Radio, CJAD 800. Listen, and you're there for heart-wrenching knockouts.
World's biggest stage.
And breathtaking triumph. 2026 FIFA World Cup. The knockout stage. Every match, every moment. Listen on TSN Radio. Join the globe on the road to the July 19th final. 2026 FIFA World Cup. Stream it all live on TSN Radio. Available on iHeartRadio.
Hello, Canada.
This is Bryan Adams Radio. Hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
We'll play a few of mine, a ton of my favorites, and some must-hear behind-the-scenes stories from the world of rock and roll. One thing about doing rock and roll so long is you end up meeting a lot of the people that you admire. Sometimes you even get to work with them.
It's only love, and that's all.
Bryan Adams Radio.
I'm coming back to you.
Now available on the free iHeartRadio app.
Everybody, how are you tonight? Sounds great.
La STM vous souhaite la bienvenue à bord.
Bus, metro, train, drive, in transit is on the Elias Makos Show. CJAD 800.
So the city of Montreal is asking residents to weigh in on the future of bike lanes in the city, and they're doing so through an online survey. But the survey is garnering some controversy from Montreal's cycling community, specifically regarding its objectivity. The city has made changes to it, including an option to suggest the removal of bike lanes. They're allowing people without a Montreal postal code to take part. So I guess the question here is the city trying to nudge this survey in one direction? Let's head over to Nicolas Marcotte, a cyclist who first noticed these issues with the survey. Nicolas, welcome to the program.
Hi.
Tell me about yourself, by the way. Tell me about yourself, your love of cycling, how much cycling you do in the city.
Yeah, I love to cycle in Montreal. I use my bicycle to bring my kids to school, to go to work and grocery store and everything. So I also use different mode of transportation, buses, subways, and car. But I try to avoid it in Montreal because it's so busy. It's more efficient for me to use my bicycle.
And it's fair to say that you're a lover of the bike network that has been built in this city, let's say, over the last decade?
Yes. When I realized that I was able to use my bicycle, even with my kids, during the summer and the winter, for me it became a game changer. And still, I always recognize that I see that there is some lack of safety and missing path in some places. So I'm always involved to ask for more bike path in Montreal.
Okay, so listen, we have a new administration. You know, obviously when Valérie Plante was mayor and Projet Montréal was in power, they made the bike network a priority. The new mayor, Soraya Martinez-Ferrada, has promised a more like tap in the brakes approach, and they're doing this survey here, and that's one of the promises they made when they got elected. Weigh in here on this survey and the new approach from this administration when it comes to the bike network.
What I realized is that they did the first survey and they shut it down after 2 days, basically. So that was something that we did not understand very well, and they wait during a week, and after that they bring it back. So it was interesting to compare the before and the after. And this is where we get this information that, okay, the survey has changed drastically, and I decided to compare basically the two of them.
Well, this is very interesting, right? So the city promises we're going to do a consultation. They launched this online survey, and you're saying it was up for 2 days. They removed it. It came back a week later, and it had significant changes to the new version.
Yeah, and we all know that when you do a survey, it's important to have a fixed survey. You know, when you change the question, when you change the order of the answers, it changes your result. So you don't get a clear view and a representative picture of the reality. And also, we saw some big mistake in the survey that I want to mention.
So let's talk about it. What are those things that you noticed?
So first of all, there was a big map where you can pin the places that were dangerous. So it is it's nice to have that kind of information. In the second version of the survey, they add the possibility to say, please remove these bike paths. But these pins were overlapping all the other pins. So when you were zooming out, even if there was at the beginning 39 pins for removal, the bike path, they were taking all the places because they were in front of, overlapping the other pins. So this is like misrepresentation of the reality, because there was 39 pins against it, but 1,000 pins for it. At one point, yeah. And another thing that I noticed is also that the first answer was always against the bike path. So, and we know that on a survey, we tend to answer more the first question. So there is good ways of conducting a poll. Best practice is to randomize the order of the answer choices to be sure that it's balanced out a little bit more.
So do you believe that what the city is trying to do here is force a result, get particular results to this survey that would further what they intend to do all along?
I wouldn't go that far. What I've heard, though, is that some politicians from UNSIC have to have a survey that feed more political base of anti-bike groups. And the mayor agreed to have a second survey that feed these groups. For me, it's very sad and very concerning, though.
Nicolas, listen, you're on a talk radio station. A lot of people listen in their cars. I have a whole bunch of listeners that love their cars and aren't that partial to bike lanes, just to put it out there. What would be your messaging to those who aren't fans of bike lanes, bike paths, that want them all gone? What would you say to those people?
Well, for me, it's a safety issue, it's the safety, it's a threat to the safety of my family. I don't want to hate anybody. I mean, I just want to go to the school or go to the soccer field with my children. And I just want to do it safely. Sometimes some people feel entitled about my presence on the road. I think that we should share the road, and it's never a good idea to pass too close to a cyclist. And that's the reason why we have bike lane. When there is a big volume of cars and bike, we need to split the uses.
And do you have concerns about the future of the bike network?
Not really. I think that we will be able to convince the politicians that this should be less politics. It should be more about professionals that look into it and do the best thing for the safety of everybody.
The survey that's online for the City of Montreal, for those that want to do this survey, you can do a search for it. La Place du Vélo à Montréal is the French name of the survey on the City of Montreal website, and Cycling in Montreal is what it's called for the English version, for those of you that want to fill it out. Nicolas, at the end of the day, do you feel you've been able to give your say in this survey?
I think that in the survey there was something very interesting with the map. So I kept these information on my own, and I created a website to be able to consult that. Mm-hmm. So, and after that, I think that it would be a good tool for everybody to notice where there is some issues. So for me, still, it is a good surveys because we get some information, though I would prefer to have no polarization around it.
Nicolas, thanks for joining us this morning. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
That's cyclist Nicolas Marcotte.
Unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Brian Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
or the free iHeartRadio app.
Montreal, the everyday and the extraordinary. The Elias Makos Show on CJAD 800.
It has been more than 2 weeks since torrential rainfall flooded homes, streets, and basements across parts of the West Island. But for many residents of Dollard-des-Ormeaux, the frustration hasn't washed away. Tonight, those frustrations are turning into action. Residents will gather outside DDO City Hall for a protest called No More Floods. Let's go to the organizer of that protest. Henry Danylewich is with us, president of the Association of Citizens of Dollard. Paul Henry, welcome to the program.
Hi, Elias. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing well. Listen, it's a protest, so I'll start off this way. What do you want, and when do you want it?
I want it right now. We want accountability. We want to know what the mayor's doing with the money. We heard him on the news the other day telling everybody that, he has consulting plans from some very special engineering firms on how to solve the problem. He has the plans to implement. He just needs the money. So for us, we want to know, well, he's been mayor for over 10 years. We have flooding almost every year. It's not an act of God. It's, it's like, as one of the residents said, it's an act of negligence, really, on the city's part. We want accountability. We want him to explain what he's doing and why he hasn't implemented the plans yet. He's been there 10 years.
So I want to get to that, right? Because and I don't know if it's the mayor of DDO that I'm referencing here, but I've heard some elected officials say that what happened just over 2 weeks ago was truly exceptional, and there's no way to design a city to guard against 150 millimeters here. So I want your thoughts on that. Of course, you referenced that this is not the first time you've been flooded. You've been flooded for far less rain. So let's get into that.
Well, yeah, and the checks in the mail and yada, yada, the bottom line is we know that we have an aging infrastructure in DDO. The mayor doesn't have any problems, rezoning and, allowing giant condos to be built on that infrastructure without making the improvements necessary. And then, putting it on the people, right? Like, do you have a backwater valve? I mean, I just talked to an 85-year-old gentleman. He lives out on Rocher Pilon in DDO. He says he's been a resident of Dollard since 1969. He bought his house in 1979, I think, on Lake or Roger Pilon. And basically, he just told me he has the backwater valve. He sits on he doesn't have a driveway that descends into the house. He has a flat above ground driveway. His foundation sits on high land, and he's been flooded every year. Mind you, this year is the worst he's ever had. He has 3 feet of water in his basement. We have residents that are afraid to develop their basements. We have residents that are just, they just leave it there. And, we don't want to live like that. Dollard's a really good place to live, and we pay a lot of taxes. And, it's a little bit discouraging and a little bit infuriating to hear the mayor says, well, if I only had money, I could implement the plans. I don't know. I mean, the sense I get from the leadership at DDO is, there's an inability to do it or an unwillingness to do it. I don't know. I don't know what the problem is.
How's it affected you? How's it affected your home?
This year I'm okay, but I've had flooding in the past, it affects it affects our insurance rates. It affects our property values. And, we can do better. DDO deserves better than that. We deserve leadership that's going to step up, get involved, and solve this problem. And if the current administration doesn't want, or if they're not able to, then they need to get out of the way and let other people handle it, because the people of DDO deserve better. And
Paul,
the idea behind the protest, right?
And listen, I hear the passion in your voice, and even if this flood hasn't affected you directly, the passion says it all on this front. Let me ask you this, because maybe some listeners have picked up on this. When I saw your name coming on the show today, I thought about the last time you were on the show, because you are the owner of Paul Henry Landscaping, and we did a segment on landscaping before in the program. I got to ask you this, Paul, because another interview that happened on the show this week, the subject of landscaping to protect against floods came up. So can I ask you if maybe a better job needs to be done on the landscaping front for people to protect their homes?
It's one of the things that would work if you have I believe if you have a retention basin built into. In DDO we have a lot of parks. And that's a big thing in DDO. We say that you can't live without being a kilometer away from a park. So one of the big things I was looking into, and it works in other areas, is to build a retention basin naturally in the parks. Right? You have similar to what they did in Centennial Park. You could do smaller versions of that in some of the other parks in the town and alleviate the water buildup for sure. That would work. It's been done in other areas. They put in retention basins in the parks, and it's worked elsewhere. There's options out there, but I think the main thing is that I think they have the plans. I just think that there's a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of consultations happening, but we need action now. Enough's enough, and people need action. They want results.
Paul, hang on the line here. We're going to wrap up this segment with you telling our listeners the details about the protest tonight and how they can take part. But before we get to that, I want to bring Jeff Orenstein onto the program. He's founder of Consumer Law Group. And Jeff, you were on about 20 minutes ago. We lost you at the moment we wanted to switch this topic here. So actually, it's very appropriate that you're on now, given what Paul was talking about in the protest. Tell me about the legal front here and a proposed class action going after cities over this flood. Well, what do you want to add to this one, Jeff?
Well, so we did file the action on Friday. We filed against the City of Dollard and the City of Montreal for Dollard-Desermeaux, and we filed against the City of Montreal and the borough of Pierrefonds-Roxborough in two separate cases. And listen, what I have to say is very similar to what your other guest has been saying. I've spoken to engineering experts. I certainly spoke to them before we filed the case, and I've engaged them after we filed as well. And some of the things that they said is they look at it and say, all right, what did the city know beforehand? And in our proceeding, we talk about several things they knew. For example, when you talk about, and I heard your guest who had said that, these type of rainstorms don't happen, but actually the reality is, and from what I'm hearing, is that because of climate change, those are the exact type of storms you have nowadays. And this is well known in the industry already, that you have concentration of rainstorms that hit one area very hard in a very short period. That is very well known. In addition, when you look at the West Island in general, there's a graph you can see online from the City of Montreal, which talks about the topography, the sunken topography, and the risk of surface water accumulation during heavy rains. And the West Island is right there. So that's known as well. In addition, of course, we have 2 years ago, we had the rainfall of August 9, 2024 at the end of the Hurricane Debbie. And there you had between 100 and 150 millimeters of rain, and it flooded everywhere. So they've known about that as well. In addition, they know about the the maintenance of their sewer systems and drainage systems. So when you know all of that, what do you do? Do you act, and when do you act? Because it's been 2 years, maybe longer for some people. They've said they've had other floods as well. And we haven't seen the type of action that would be necessary to prevent it. So we've alleged that it's negligent by the city, and in fact, we've even alleged gross negligence here.
So, but let me ask you this, Jeff, and I have a listener who's they're sending me the receipts here, they're sending me the numbers, right? Christina writes this, and I'm sure this will be part of the defense for DDO and Pierrefonds-Roxborough. 170 millimeters of rain in a 10 square kilometer area. It's about 1.7 billion liters of water, 680 Olympic-sized swimming pools. There is no infrastructure anywhere on the planet that can handle all of that rain. Isn't that the defense that you're going to be met with? And doesn't that make your legal fight all the more difficult?
So the first premise I agree with. The second one I do not. The first premise is the type of rain you're talking about. That is the new way that rainstorms happen nowadays. Okay, that is a fact, and that is not something new. That's been known about for several years already. But to your second point, saying there is nothing you could do, my expert disagrees with that. I disagree with that, and I think the people of Dollard and Roxborough Pierrefonds disagree with that. There are absolutely measures that could be taken both before, both during, And so none of these things were done. I mean, I've been talking about it. There's installations you can put in different where you store water and absorb it and then release it slowly. Sponge parks, catch basins, retention facilities. There's things, pumping stations you can do during the floods. There's, you could have let go of the water if you knew about it coming beforehand from the lakes beforehand. There are absolutely things you can do, and none of this has discussed the aging sewer systems and drainage systems, or blockages or things like that, or maintenance of it. So to answer your question, the first part of the comment, I agree with. The second part, that there is nothing that can be done in the world. This was not a tsunami here. I do not agree with that at all. This was rainfall as it's been happening over the last number of years. It's got to be handled.
Paul, it's tonight. No more floods, the protest. Why don't you tell our listeners how they can add their voice?
Yeah, basically we're going to be out there at 6:30 till 7:30. It's a gathering. We want to show the city we mean business. And then, there are town council meetings at 7:30. I plan to be there to ask the mayor some important questions and remind the mayor that he works for us, that this city works for us. And I got a letter from the city telling me that, that they didn't think it was a good idea for me to have this rally, that they have concerns, that that it's not in the best interest of the people. Well, you know what? I think we're on really different pages. I guess we're going to give them some clarity tonight.
I will reach out to the mayor of DDO, give him the opportunity to speak on air to our listeners. Paul Henry Danylewich, president of the Association of Citizens of Dollard. Paul, good luck with your protest tonight. I thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Elias.
And Jeff Orenstein, founder of Consumer Law Group. Jeff, for those people who feel they may be part of this class action, do they need to do anything right now? Do they need to reach out to you?
Well, they can go to our website at clg.org. They can input their information. We have already over 1,200 people, almost 1,300 people have already put their names in already on the website. There was also the notice of claim that we were encouraging people to do, to file with the City of Dollard and the City of Montreal. Unfortunately, the deadline, I think, was yesterday. That may not have any major effect because we filed the class action in time anyway, so They should be covered anyhow. But they should go to our website and input their information. It will help us with the case in general.
Jeff, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Jeff Orenstein, founder of Consumer Law Group. Okay, we've covered our bases on that front. When we return on the Elias Makos Show, we will head to La Ronde. Now, La Ronde is under new ownership. Remember, it was owned by Six Flags, that large North American amusement park conglomerate. Well, no more. So what does new ownership mean for La Ronde? We're going to find out next.
Unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Brian Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
or the free iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to the Voice of Montreal.
News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
An iHeartRadio station.
The newest tracks. Let's go. New music. And the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
'Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice. Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers.
I think we need something new.
Discover iHeart New Music. Always fresh, always first. Stream now on the free iHeartRadio app.